So when I was planning to move here, I was speaking with someone who was telling me, about the living conditions and places to live and things like that. And one of the things he mentioned was, you might need a maid, you might need a driver. So let me talk to you about the help, which I just think is hilarious because of that movie and that book. I just wasn't really into the movie. I did go see it. I don't know. Let's not get into that. But anyway, the help. Okay, so a lot of people will have a lot of expats and other people, other immigrants from other areas and rich people will have a maid or maids and also a driver. Depending on where you're living, if you're living in a house, you might have a gardener, a person to take care of the pool, etc. So when I first moved here, the apartment that I was put up in, it wasn't the apartment that I was paying for, but the apartment I was put up in, there was an option for a maid. So I think the first 2 times the maid came in once a week, and they mop, sweep, make your bed, all of those things. Well, my bed was made, but whatever, they do all their maid chores and everything. So I'll admit, it was nice, to have that the cleaning weekly. But anyone who knows anything about the help and maid culture and all that here is that a lot of times they will end up stealing from you. So it's not really a matter of if, it's just a matter of when. It's going to happen and how much and what it's going to be. And the reason being is because they hardly make any money. They might make about $200 US a month, which is so hard to live on because Jakarta is like a big city and there are a lot of expats here and there is a lot of money here. So it can be expensive, for a local person to live in Jakarta. And so a lot of times they're hardly paid, and there have even been cases of abuse, especially when Indonesian maids go to the Middle East and even to other neighboring countries like Malaysia and things like that. And when I talk about abuse, I mean like they're locked away like they're an animal or like a slave. And I even heard of the cases where women had nails inserted like into their hands and stuff. So I'm sure if you Google it, you can find stories on it. So that's really sad. But one thing is, when people from other countries come to Indonesia, like Americans, people from New Zealand, Europeans, a lot of times they don't have the proper boundaries to manage, the help. Meaning they start trying to make these people like part of their family, and saying like, oh, like come inside and, here, and, giving them little gifts and, just making things very familiar and kind of sending those mixed messages. And a lot of times that ends up the main person you thought you could trust and then you're putting all your faith and trust in. A lot of times those are the people who end up stealing from you. And like I said, I haven't had it happen. I don't have a maid anymore. And like I said, I had it in that other place for about 2 months, and it really wasn't even just up to me. It was the landlord who was his maid, and that was like another weird thing because he kind of insisted she come in and clean and things like that. And I really didn't really like that because she would come in a lot of times when I was not there. It happened twice, and one time I was there, and then it was 2 other times she came in and I was not there, and she had gotten the key from the landlord, and I didn't like that. Nothing happened, nothing was missing as far as I know up until this point, but I didn't like her being in my apartment when I wasn't there. And like I said, they hardly get paid any money, and then a lot of times you might have people from other countries who come here, and then now they are thinking they have an indentured servant, and then they are very disrespectful to these people. And like a lot of times, I know this is like a cultural thing, like maybe in America, but back in the day, they used to refer to black men, grown black men, as boys. Back during the Jim Crow era, things like that. And so that term is just so disrespectful, and it carries a lot of history and things like that. When an African American man is referred to as a boy, it has like a racist connotation. But here, a lot of times, people will kind of, use that term, or they might be like, oh, the office boy, and I don't know. It's just I just don't like it. I mean, I know it may not mean the same thing here, but it's still kind of like calling grown men and young adult men boys, and like I said, is not ever used to somebody in a position of power, who has, a different job. It's always the person who's in that position of, to empty the garbage and things like that. So they might say like, well, ask the office boy, where's the boy? And, I've seen that in other situations, in other cases. So that's something that's kind of just, I don't know. And a lot of times these people will do like little odd jobs and things like that, because money really talks around here. Cash really is king and really talks around here. So if you do need to get something done, and if you do have a little cash, then you could probably find somebody to do it, and they're going to do it with a smile. And I will say I have had experience with that. I did it when I needed help moving, and I needed help cleaning. When I first moved in here, I had apartments filthy, so I really had to clean it, several times. And I did hire a guy through the apartment complex, and he came in and we cleaned for, I think, like literally 8 hours straight. I was right with him too, because I wanted it done a certain way. And that's another thing. A lot of times you have these maids, and they're not even really cleaning. Or they're just cleaning, they're not cleaning to the level of maybe what, I want, I would consider clean. So that's another thing you kind of have to balance too, is even worth it, So I decided it wasn't worth it for me, I'll just clean myself, and that way I don't have to worry about, locking up valuables all the time, and, don't have to get into accusing someone, because a lot of times if you are in that situation, like when I first had my little cleaning lady maid, it was always like this paranoia that I would have that, like, she's stealing, and, double checking this and double checking that, and that doesn't feel good either. And again, I mean, I'm not knocking anybody who does have a cleaning lady or anything, because some of these houses are very big, and you are in a new country, and it's nice to not have to worry about certain things when you are dealing with culture shock and just trying to live day to day. But you are always taking a chance, because it's a well-known fact that a lot of times people will steal from you at some point. It may not be now, may not be next month, but at some point it's a 99% chance, and that's because it's so poor and there's so much poverty in a lot of areas. So these people, yeah, it's kind of like, you don't need it, like that's kind of the, whether it's wrong or right. I mean, a lot of people are just trying to survive and feed their families, so when you have those two situations, it could be a recipe for disaster. So, and then there's really like no incentive for them to, really clean really well or do a job really well, because they're being paid so little. So just something to think about if you are coming over here and you do have that opportunity. It could be more of a headache than a help. All right, follow along at MawooAngels.com, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Thanks.